SoloBAMF Gaming here. Like, sub, all that. Oh my god, have you guys been playing Diablo 4? I mean, look at these graphics. So awesome. Let's go kill some shit. Oh, it's the best thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
I wish
Just
you luck,
look at all this.
hero.
Oh
Give
my
it more
god, so
time.
powerful. Oh, trillions of damage. It's so fucking insane. Oh, wait a minute. This is Diablo 3. Yeah, because Diablo 4 fucking sucks balls.
Give it more
If you want to
time.
know what Diablo 4 looks like, it's literally this. Except not as good because you're not as powerful because you're not going to bring all your stuff over. And honestly, the graphics aren't really any different at all than what you're going to get inside of Diablo 3. So that's for starters. And right now I'm just showing off my build because I absolutely love this thing. Probably just go back to the regular thing. Anyway, I'll just keep talking. This is just like one of my insane builds. If you look at other options, let's see, we can just quit this, and we can go to more. Oops. It's been a while since I actually played this. Oh yeah, here we go. Switch hero. So I do have, this is just me flexing my Diablo 3 stuff. So this is my Demon Hunter, my Necromancer, the Crusader, my Wizard, the Witch Doctor, my Barbarian, and my Monk. And I think all these are just random characters I was going to start. So anyway, as far as Diablo 4 goes, it's not really any different than Diablo 3. So, and I would have pulled up some Diablo 3 footage, except that the beta already is deactivated, so I can't bring up my characters to show you some of the stuff that I'm talking about. But if we go look at the characters, I don't like the way that they have the new skill tree set up. I do enjoy the way that they have the inventory set up. I think that the inventory here, it's kind of interesting the way they have it set up with the individual slots. I don't mind that. The other one is you just really get one thing. You can put one ring in one slot. You can put on one helmet. The rest is a traditional. I probably holds about maybe 30 items in your inventory, and that's about it. So you can see all the items down below. I don't know if I like that better than this, because at least here I can go to the sword or the belt, and I know, okay, these are the belts that I have. All right, so one part of me kind of likes that. One part of me is like, okay, hit or miss. As far as the skills go, I actually like the D3 version better than the way that they have the skill tree set up inside of D4. D4 has these are your core or your they call it basic skills. So the first set is your basic skills, and it's nice because then you know these are the basic skills, and then they branch off. So for the sorcerer, you have your fireball skill, you have your electrical skill. Now they got like a difference between a spark and electricity. I'm not exactly sure why. Why don't you just have electricity or lightning? Why do you have to have spark and electricity? And they're not very clear on their terms. So like in the barbarian, it says whenever your barbarian is berserking, but then I could never find anything that actually said, hey, this one makes your barbarian berserk. So is that whenever he uses his fury? Because then why don't you call it whenever your barbarian uses fury instead of berserking? So I think they need to be more clear on the terms that they're going. But it all spirals out of that. And then after you get two of them on your basic, then you can go down into this branch timeline. I kind of wish I would have taken some video of that. And then it'll go to your core skills. And then from there you can, like, for the barbarian, for instance, that's when you can do your whirlwind attack. And then you can upgrade that up to 5 times to do extra damage. So it's kind of nice in theory, but the way that it plays out is very hectic because you have to literally scroll back and forth and up and down on the skill tree to try and find everything. Whereas here, it's like, okay, blood and bone. I know that I can select that. I can select the one next to it, and get whatever it is that I want, and assign it wherever I want. And then I know, like, the objects below it, I can go and select here. I can choose whichever one I want. And then from there, I can choose the ones underneath it that correspond with it to upgrade those. So some of that stuff I like in this one better because it's just easier to find. I think that there's a happy medium somewhere. I don't think they hit the mark on D4. I think that D3 is a little bit easier to visualize because it's all there on one page. If I want Blood Rush, I can look at the different branch right here on the same screen. If I'm going into D4 and I'm looking at D4 and I don't even think they have a Blood Rush, but if they did, um, you have to follow the branch, and then it's harder to just scroll over things and see everything because it's not all kind of on one page. And yes, I know you have to kind of scroll over all this other shit to try and find it. So that's why I'm saying there's probably a happy medium between the two. I don't think they nailed it on D4. I kind of prefer the one that they had on D3. As far as the Paragon levels, you really can't do that in the beta, so I'm not exactly sure how that works there. As far as the followers, you did have a follower. I didn't put too. It's odd inside the beta because you did have a follower that followed you around, but then would ixnay out of the scenario for over half of the adventures, including whenever you went into a boss fight. So I don't understand what the purpose of that was. Plus, here I know that I can upgrade my follower so that he's actually useful and does some kind of damage or is at least a meat shield. But inside the beta, I could not figure out a way to open up the follower. I could not figure out a way to outfit the follower. And the follower actually that they did give you, I think it was just a random NPC to just kind of keep you in check more than it was someone who actually did damage or diverted attacks. So that kind of sucked. The beta also was limited to the Necromancer, which I would say probably 70% of the people who were playing the game were Necromancers. The Druid, the Barbarian, the Sorcerer, and the Rogue. All of them are pretty good classes. I ended up starting with the Sorcerer. I really enjoyed that. It does need some sort of a defensive spell, or you need to be with someone else who can actually throw something in front of you to get people to attack it instead of you. Like if the Hydra would actually, when you summon the Hydra Flyer, if that would divert attacks onto you over towards the Hydra Fire, and then so you're not always in the line of danger. I originally started with the lightning. I still really like the build that I did with that, bouncing electricity in large groups and just killing people. I thought that was a lot of fun. But I had to divert into teleportation and ice armor just to survive, because if you got surrounded, you were fucked. And that's not fun for anyone. So I think that the Sorcerer needs a little bit of work. They just need just a tad bit of love. I know that they deal a lot of output and a lot of damage, and that's fine. But they just need something to make them just slightly more stable so that they're not always running around the battlefield like a bitch. I did play the Barbarian. I got up to, you can only get up to level 25 in the beta. I got to the level 25 on the Sorcerer, and then I kept leveling the Sorcerer thinking, why the hell am I not getting to level 26? This is taking forever. And then I realized, oh, you can only get to level 25. So that was a little bit lame. They did have some stuff, not quite the Paragon stuff like you see here on the screen, but they did have some quests where if you completed the quest, you got an extra skill point that you could put in something. So that was kind of a nice thing to do. I don't remember. It's been forever since I played D3, so I can't remember if they had anything similar to that. I just don't remember off the top of my head. But I did play the Barbarian. I got him up to level 18, I think. And then I was like, I'm going to go to bed. Maybe I'll play a little bit in the morning. By the time I got out in the morning to play, it was too late. They already took off the servers for the beta. So that also kind of sucked a little bit. I think, though, that the Barbarian was kind of fun. If you build the Barbarian right, I think you're fine. Obviously, it works out better once you can start making your own equipment. I did combine a couple of gems. While I was inside the game, they really, they're low-level gems. They were like chips into crude gems or crude gems into chips. I can't remember which. I never really got much further than that as far as in terms of that. I didn't, because it's beta and I knew it was going to go away, so I didn't salvage anything and try to make special armor or anything of that nature. Although I had enough resources to probably do like one or two items, kind of cool with gems and stuff like that. What else? Oh, all right. So as far as I can tell, the gameplay. This actually looks better to me than the gameplay that you get inside of D4. I mean, honestly. Um, I think the graphics on D3 actually look better. Now, maybe it's just because you're in a winter wonderland and maybe shit just sucks. I don't know. But you definitely, I hear thunder growing in the background. You have a nice city that's got some animatics in it. Um, I think that this whole entire setup here is a lot better than what you're getting when you go into D3. Um, I mean, it's arguable. It could be maybe we're just getting the beta and they didn't flash it out. But the basic point is that D4 doesn't feel any different at all than D3. So what's the point of having a D4? Why not just come out with a DLC so I can, go nuts with my loadout on my weapons and have some fun killing shit doing trillions of damage instead of, oh, look, you did 23 damage on a monster. Because I spend a lot of time and resources getting all this gear. It'd be really nice if I could actually use it for something other than sitting back in level 300 rifts and, just racking my brain out and just doing nothing. Because there's nothing that really challenges me in this game. All right, so yeah, they are going to have a new story. That's fine. I've seen this at the opening cinematic. I've seen that somewhere before. I mean, it's been forever. Like, I Googled it. It looks like it was D3 came out in 2012. It feels like it came out in 2000. I mean, it feels like it's a really old game. Um, but anyway, I've seen the cinematic before that they had for D4, and it makes me wonder why it took them so long to come out with D4 when it doesn't feel any different on a gameplay level than D3. The only thing that's really changed is the way that the inventory works and the way the skill tree works. And one other thing, in D3 you didn't have mounts, but in D4 you can have a mount. I'm like, hey, that's perfect. In D4 I can have a mount. I can ride a fucking horse. Except that would be something really cool to show in the beta, but you didn't show that in the beta. Instead, they showed you, here's the mount that you could potentially ride, but it's nothing that you're going to be able to actually do inside the beta, so pretty much go F yourself. Alright, so whatever. Then, the other thing is I was doing a quest on the sorcerer that was, I've seen videos on it online. It was something for the Bear Chief clan, and you had to go into the cave and go do some stuff to rescue a hammer or something. I was never able to open the entrance. So I was like, okay, I'm on the Barbarian, let me go try and do that. I was never able to trigger the quest on the Barbarian. So, I mean, I get it's beta, there's quirky shit, that's fine. But tell me why on the beta you would have access to a quest that tracks you all the way to the northwest corner of the map, and then you can't get up there because it says it's impassable. There's literally a barrier that says you can't be over here because you're going into an area that's restricted. And it's probably restricted because it's the beta. But if that's true, then why don't you just ixnay that quest out of there so people aren't like, hey, I really want to do this quest, and then you waste hours going up and down the map trying to figure out a way to get to someplace you can't. All right, so that's a little bit nitpicky. I did not play the rogue. I did not play the necromancer. I did not play the druid. I did hear from one or two people that did play the druid that they said that the druid was really hard to level up at first. And I kind of remember in D3, I felt that same way. Your stuff wasn't really all that powerful. Stuff dies pretty quick, especially if you're playing on the harder modes. I actually think it would have been kind of interesting to play on the hardcore mode in the beta, just to see if you can get through to level 25 without dying. I was probably going to do that after I leveled up the barbarian. I just didn't have enough time. But yeah, that's pretty much my take on Diablo. I always love this one because I got a little chicken. I put a different animal for each one. But anyway, I think that Am I going to play it? Yeah, probably, because I'm a sucker for. Well, I didn't like Diablo 1. I didn't like Diablo 2. I really fell in love with Diablo 3, obviously, since I just went nuts on all these characters. But I do like the animation. I do like the story, at least in D3. D4, I want to find out what happens. I'll probably end up buying it. But I find it a little bit annoying because I felt like this could have just been a DLC. Like the whatever this one is called, the Soul Tormentor or whatever, or a Keeper of Souls or whatever it was. I mean, it could have just been a DLC like this because they didn't really change anything substantial enough, in my opinion, to make D3 into D4. Like I said, they have some cosmetic changes to the way that the inventory is handled, and stuff like that, but it's nothing that is, in my personal opinion, that's going to improve the gameplay or the mechanics. Now, maybe coding wise, there's something behind the scene. I know, like, earlier in the video, you saw me doing trillions of damage on a hit. I know that they decreased that in the gameplay so that you can, not have your board cluttered with that. I actually thought it was kind of funny to see, like, all these numbers fly up everywhere with trillions of damage here and billions of damage there. I mean, I thought that was kind of hilarious and I like it. But whatever. The one thing I will say is that they did add a world event, and I just randomly happened to see it about 3 minutes before it started. I made it down to the area where it was, and it was actually pretty cool. It was a giant dragon that literally was bigger than the visible area on the screen, and there was probably about 15 of us that were beating the shit out of this. You had 15 minutes to kill them, and I think we did it in like 3 minutes and 50 seconds or something. So I will give them props for that they're trying to add in stuff like that. Apparently, it's a weekly mission. So if that is true that it's a weekly thing, I think that you need to do one of two things. You either need to find a more appropriate time for it. I don't remember what time I actually saw it. I think it was on a Saturday night, actually. But I did see someone online complaining that they were working during that time, so they couldn't do it. I don't really know. I know that I played it on a Saturday night, and that seems like it should be an appropriate time. Or have it do it like once a day, but then once you do it, you can't do it again for the rest of the week. And then you can vary the times a little bit. That way people have can anticipate when it's going to be. That's just my suggestion. But actually, I actually think that, hey, if you had that as a daily mission, it would be a lot of fun. And just have it randomly change times or something. It was kind of fun to look forward to that. Or let me put it this way, I would look forward to that, say, every Friday or every Saturday or every day around noon or every day, go to blizzard.com and say, okay, when is it going to show up today? And then, anticipate that you're going to be home to do that, or if you can. So that would be kind of fun. It didn't really drop anything all that great, but I was already level 25 at the time. So at that point in the game, you're not really getting a ton of exciting things anyway. I will say that somewhere I read that you were supposed to get a wolf pup in a backpack. If you got to level 20, I think, on the beta. I did do that. I did not get that. I don't know if there was a vendor that I needed to go and check in with that. Maybe it's an external reward from Blizzard. And the other thing that I want to say, I want to call out Battle.net and Blizzard for being complete 100% jackasses for their Battle.net account. I tried to log in initially with my Battle.net account, and it said that I was on a cooldown period. Now, you would have suspected a cooldown period might be 24 hours, 48 hours, maybe possibly a week at most, 365 days. Apparently, you have to wait 365 days if you're in a cooldown period if you switch accounts. Now, I never switched accounts, and no matter how many times I told the tech support that I never switched accounts, it didn't matter because to them, I switched accounts and it was all my fault, even though I never switched accounts and never did anything with it. I do suspect that when I played Overwatch with one of my friends for 20 minutes back in October, that quote-unquote switched my account, but I don't know how it switched my account because I never logged in differently or anything else, and I didn't associate it with another PS4 or PS5, so I don't know why that's quote-unquote switching accounts, But in any event, I was under still 207 days of a cooldown period, and the only way that I could get around that is to literally go and create a new account, which I did, but I wasn't happy about. And the first thing I did after I created that account was log into Diablo 3 and see if it affected my additional items, my because I do have a lot of really cool um, builds in Diablo 3, and I was hoping that I didn't lose those, and I didn't. Every once in a while, I do like to just go in and basically play God and run through any one of these and just have some fun because they are, even though you are completely overpowered with these builds, they still are really fun to go in and just annihilate shit. And then if you see other people, you just help them out. Like, hey, I no longer need this plus 20 million item. Why don't you take this and go kill a whole bunch of shit with it? And that's also kind of fun and rewarding. All right, I think I rattled on quite a long time there. Basically, I think that Diablo 4 wasn't necessary. I felt like it could have been a DLC. Um, I don't really have an opinion on whether or not the dungeons are repetitive, except that they are a little bit hard to navigate. Um, just because you're trying to go from, you got the Cloud of War, so you can kind of see where you have gone, but I don't know. You ran into that with D3 as well. So trying to like go inside the dungeon, you know that you need to find the exit or the objective. There's nothing really leading you that way, so it's all a lot of blind stuff. And then I didn't know it at the time, but you can just click on the exit to leave the dungeon. D3, you actually had like a flag at the end or whatnot, where you could just click on that and it would take you out of the dungeon. Um, so it wasn't until someone pointed that out to me where I was like, oh, I wish I would have known that 24 levels earlier. Um, but as far as the dungeons repeating themselves, I don't really care too much about that, except that sometimes it looks like it's somewhere you can go and then you can't. But other than that, it would be kind of nice if they had some different, a little bit of variety, but I'm more concerned about the gameplay and the story than I am about, the dungeon. All right. Anyway, was there anything else possibly that I wanted to mention about the game? It's basically D3. It is what it is. It's basically D3 with a different interface for picking your skills. That's pretty much what it is. That's pretty much all I got for right now. I don't know if I'm going to cover any content for Diablo 3. I don't really cover anything for Destiny, and I play that far more than any other game. I am going to go back to Hogwarts and complete some of the finding quests and content quests and things of that nature on that game. So if you can look forward to that, and maybe I'll do some videos on Diablo. But this is Diablo. Even if I do buy it, which I probably will, is going to be more of a background game. I'll probably be playing Destiny primarily, and then once I get caught up on that, like I am right now, I'll take a quick break. If I wasn't caught up on Destiny 3, or sorry, 2, I would have probably not logged into the beta for Diablo 4. But since I did, I am kind of caught up on Destiny. I did decide to play the beta. It was okay. It was kind of fun. It brought back a lot of memories of Diablo 3. It was kind of interesting to play. The one thing that I will say is I hope that you can actually get the mounts quick. All right, this is the last thing I want to say. I hope you get the mounts quick because there's nothing more boring than walking across the map, which is just 55,000 miles long at a snail's pace, and just having everything nip at your heels and have to get into like 5 million fights. All right, one more thing. Every fight felt like it was a fight for your life. All right, so like in Diablo 3, not everything was like a fight for your life. If you were overpowered for the area that you're in, you could pretty much annihilate the shit. I could walk in with the power level that my guys are right now in Diablo 3. I can pretty much annihilate anyone, including Diablo, in like 1 or 2 hits, or even on the hardest mode. But in Diablo 4, if I had the same power level and I walked into the final boss, I feel like he would still have more health, hit harder, blah, blah, blah. When you're playing a fantasy game, you want to feel powerful at least some of the time. So even if it's just the random encounters in the wild, it would be nice if they would, say this zone is more for like up to 10th level shit. And if you're beyond that, you have to necessarily, one tap everything, but maybe you do a little bit more damage to them and don't feel like every fight is a fight for your life. Because that's how it felt sometimes, especially when you're on the sorcerer, because the sorcerer doesn't have anybody to block all that stuff. All right, I'm done. Thanks for your time. Appreciate you guys listening. Like, sub, all that stuff. Hope you had a good weekend, and thank you very much.